Brilliant.
Thank you.
Okie doke. Timothy, please.
Mr. Major, how do you do? And thank you very much for the opportunity of speaking to you, because I think up till now you haven't been quite so keen to speak to me, but never mind. I'm not going to ask you for any money. In my Save the McDougall campaign, which I've been running for about 5 years now, I've tried to explain how the 50-year lease of the McDougall Art Gallery in 2020 to Canterbury Museum for their use has dishonoured the terms of my grandfather's gift of it to the citizens of Christchurch for the city's art collection. And at the same time, you also dishonoured your own heritage charter, and it must be the greatest breach of trust in the city's history. But it has also left the problem of how the museum is going to use it for display purposes, because it doesn't have an art collection of a public art gallery standard that has been collected on the basis of its artistic merit, like the city's own art collection, which is owned by the council. The museum only has 50 oil paintings of a public art gallery standard, and in 2003 the council, at the request of the museum, arranged for the McDougall Act to be changed so that they could store and display in the gallery not only two-dimensional artworks, but also three-dimensional decorative arts and crafts from their museum collections. The problem with this is that the McDougall is a two-dimensional art gallery, and it is not designed to be used as a museum. It should instead be used for the display of the city's historical art collection, which is what every city in the world has that has built a new art gallery has done with their old one. So when the museum redevelopment project is completed, how can the museum use the McDougall in the best interests of the public, and especially our tourists? I believe the question has now actually become, how can all of the city's cultural assets be used in the interests of its ratepayers? Until now, we have had a situation where the management of the Christchurch Art Gallery has not wanted in future to have anything to do with the McDougall, despite them being out of storage space, while the museum have wanted to use it for both storage and display when they don't have a suitable art collection to display in it. Meanwhile, the gallery has been borrowing items from the museum's collections to display alongside artworks from the city's collection. To do this, they have probably had to pay transit insurance on the museum items under a loan agreement, even though the museum does not insure their collection. And while the new gallery has been out of storage space for years, they have asked you to spend $8 million in 2028-29 on a new storage facility when they could have moved the historical collection to the McDougall, and at the same time you're paying for the museum's new huge storage facility under the whole McDougall land area and their own new building. The real problem here is that the city's art galleries are owned by the council, while the museum is owned by a charitable trust. And as a result, the city's cultural assets are looking after their own interests and not working together as a team to enable their collections to be displayed in the most suitable facilities. Add to this the council's present financial position, resulting in submitters calling for the council to reduce staff costs across the board and become a leaner organisation. I believe the council should now work towards bringing all of the city's cultural assets under their control in order to achieve this. It would require you to seek government support to replace the present Canterbury Museum Trust Board Act 1991 with new legislation vesting the museum assets in the council. The new government has indicated it wishes to help councils financially where they can, so it would be likely to support such an initiative. Under one ownership, only one director would be required, and management roles for positions such as finance, building services, public relations, promotion and fundraising could be shared across all facilities. Likewise, functions such as promotions, conservation work on collection items and registration could be shared, and when contracting ancillary services, the same contractors could be employed for maintenance and cleaning. It cannot possibly be in the best interests of your ratepayers to keep financially supporting the museum to the extent you do when you do not own it. You pay 86% of their annual operating expenses, have so far contributed $78 million to their redevelopment project compared with the government's $45 million, and could yet end up having to meet possibly another 100 million, owing for the present shortfall of 45 million in the estimated cost and inevitable cost overruns. The museum's current net worth is 153 million, and its land and buildings are presently valued at 72 million based on a 2020 valuation, and with possibly $250 million or more being spent on them during the redevelopment project, it would be possible to bring them onto the council's balance sheet at around, say, at least 350 million or more. It would certainly bolster your balance sheet. I've been talking to you for 5 years about all this. I mean, what happened to the McDougall is absolutely dreadful. How my grandfather was treated was disgusting, and no one seems to care less about it. This is the stage I've got to. I think the only way this is all going to be resolved is to let's use all our cultural facilities in this city. Let's use them to best advantage, get them under one ownership and one management team. If you think about it, you might start to think seriously about it. Anyway, I'll leave it with you.
Yeah, you're right. Aaron?
I haven't asked you for any money.
Yeah, yeah. Given that he hasn't come in and asked for any money, he's been asking for this for 5 years. We've never actually put it to the vote. I know that art gallery, not the art gallery, the museum have their plan and want to use it the way they're planning to use it. But I would have preferred that the council did vote on whether that space does store art going into the future, because I, for one, always thought this was a strong argument, and I think it should be put to the vote at some point, whether that becomes the space for art or not, and stores the city's collection. It makes sense, and it should be. No, we voted on supporting that museum, but this is as that particular space as has been requested. So can we get some information back on whether that's even possible?
Yep, no problem. Yep.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you very much, mate. Good to see you again.
Wonderful facilities. Just a pity if they're not all used to best advantage.
Yep. Great. Thank you
Leave
very
it
much.
with you for thought.
Okay.